Welcome to another episode of Roadman Reviews.
Hello. You guys good?
It's getting worse.
Listen.
It's getting worse.
Okay, one time I'm going to do it and you guys just have to tell me whether it's getting better or worse, okay? But the past few weeks have been worse, but I don't think we've hit rock bottom yet. When we hit rock bottom, then, we'll do something about it.
We keep telling you to stop, so we're not going to say if it's worse or better. We just want you to stop.
You know what? Question of for this podcast. Do you think you should stop? Yes or no?
No. Do you hear that? You'll float too. That was Pennywise, by the way, just saying that. You hear him. Pennywise is on my side.
Yeah, and that leads us to today's review.
Oh,
obviously,
shit. I like that segue.
which is the...
It.
It's a Stephen King...
Stephen King. Stephen Kitts.
Oh, the voice is like... Fuck it. Stephen King adaptation of his novel. There was an original 2-part miniseries in 1990. Mm-hmm. As I've been telling the guys, it's got a special place in my life. I was 8.
Didn't scare you.
I was in Amsterdam.
You were 8 in 1990?
No.
What?
Watching
What are we
the film.
talking about?
Okay,
He
let me
travelled to
rewind this whole
Amsterdam.
thing.
What are we talking about today? What are
Okay.
we reviewing?
So this is the review of It for the second time.
2017.
2017's version. Yeah. So it's based on the Stephen King book what was written in the 1980s.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Our TV's decided to pop on for some reason.
Apologies.
What's she? See, you know what happened? That was a possession by Pennywise. Pennywise is trying to fuck up this review. We haven't even talked about what we thought of the film yet, Pennywise. Just calm down, mate.
So we're reviewing It.
Yes.
Continue.
So it's based on the book, like I said for the 5th time. It's a...
Even though this should be a scary review, or a review that we're frightened of, we just seem to be laughing.
No.
I think the clown got to us.
Like the kids mentioned, don't be scared.
Yeah.
Watched it. Well, it's come out to a big. I'm sure if you all heard positive thumbs up.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Massive
loved it.
opening weekend for September. I think 130 million plus.
Highest ever. It's 173, I think.
No, it can't be. I think it was 130. Maybe now it's
a few million
170.
off. It was about 10 million off Deadpool.
I think
Yeah,
it's
but Deadpool didn't make.
Deadpool.
No. It made 130-ish million.
No, I think it's...
No,
it's-
108.
trust me. You don't want to be roughly about 125, 130 million opening weekend. Now it's probably up to about 200 million domestically. But
It surpassed
Yeah.
Deadpool.
yeah, but
No,
Deadpool
no,
didn't
it's
make
supposed-
170 million on its
On the
opening
first
weekend.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about first weekend. Basically, it doesn't really matter because we're not going to see any of that money. All we know is that it made a lot of money and it's doing very, very well, which is obviously fantastic.
Highest. Well, what we can agree on is the highest horror opening
Yes,
ever
that's
of all
true.
time.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the trailers.
oh, you know what? We don't have to talk about trailers much.
But the amount of time that the trailer was viewed is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And to be fair, it was an amazing marketing campaign.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really
They did
good.
really
That's
well.
part of the reason I think why they made such a massive opening.
They even
weekend.
overdid the Star Wars
trailers, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Muffy, as you, I don't know if you guys have clocked on the past reviews, but Muffy is not the biggest Star Wars fans.
It's the
So we
Star
will-
Wars that's coming out this
We
year.
will have an episode of Muffy watching
Star Wars
Yes.
Empire kicks back or kicks forward. Whatever it's called.
This doesn't stomp the yard. Darth Vader kick back.
Oh Lord! But now, before we delve into it, start off with there's going to be a
Hey,
spoiler.
that was an amazing punches there. I like that.
Yeah, I'm on a roll now.
I missed that. What was that?
Yeah,
Before
you
we delve into it.
keep up. As I was going to say, it is going to be a spoiler heavy review, so we will divulge all of Pennywise. What was you calling him?
Moneypenny. His name's Pennywise.
He says this
Oh,
now.
he's
He says this
perfected it
now.
now.
It's stush now, yeah.
So its name is Pennywise's Secrets. Quick review or overall thoughts. What
Yeah.
do you think of the film?
Really like the film. Really surprisingly good. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of horror films, not just because I don't genuinely, if I have a genre to watch, horror isn't one of the things I go out of my way to kind of watch. I know some of our mates are really, really into horror films, but for me, it's more just kind of general films, dramas, thrillers, those kinds of things. But this is really, really interesting. Initial thoughts, that was a very good, very effective, I wouldn't really call this a horror film. I'd call this more like a hybrid genre film, like a thriller, and a cross between like a coming of age story of the main characters, the main children in the film, and an effective psychological thriller type film as well, and I really like the fact that it wasn't just like, jump scares, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, it had a sense of humour. I love how the characters, you really got to know who the characters were, because usually in horror films, the characters are about as well developed as a piece of paper, you know what I mean? They don't have anything going for them, but here at least they have, they all have their individual stories, their own arcs. Really like that kind of stuff, and I really like this. So my overall thoughts, I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was fantastic. It wasn't perfect. There were some things that I had a bit of an issue with, but again, I'll come back to that a little bit later on. But overall, really liked it. Thought it was really good.
Like Feds touched upon, I think everyone's loved the film, but the main thought seems to be, some people say it's not scary, I just like it as a general film. Others saying it was really scary. Where does that fall in for you?
No, I don't think I don't think I can count it as scary. There were parts where it was not scary. It was more creepy in some scenes. You think to yourself, that's just weird.
Yeah.
But like Fahad said, or Chachi said,
who the fuck is Chach? Every episode he's brought up, and I have no idea who this guy is. Is he Pennywise? I think he is. I'm just gonna go from there.
Well, this podcast should be rated 18 and not 15.
Let's be honest. If you're watching it, where a little 5-year-old kid gets his arm chopped up in the first 5 seconds of the film,
but it's rated at 15.
I know, surprisingly,
which is strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to my opinion. Shush. I thought there were parts where it was just weird and creepy, like the bit where he just comes around the corner and then comes back again, and But overall, I thought to myself, it was it had everything in it. It had the humor, the thriller, the all around kids sort of story.
Yeah,
like the Goonies, for example.
That's a good callback. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that sort of
Stand By Me, all that stuff.
Yeah, that sort of vibe to it where it's not just
for God's sake, Pennywise.
Sorry guys, the TV keeps switching on.
No, I think it's going all poltergeist on us.
Seriously, why is it switching on? That's just weird. It's weird we're reviewing a
horror film, and
horror
then all of a
movie
sudden it decides to
turn on.
I know. I think we need to keep the TV. That TV got knocked the shit out of just then. Okay, hopefully everything should be alright. So, where were we at, Ahmed? We were talking about it.
So we started off with overall thoughts.
So so my overall thoughts, it had a bit of everything in it. It had parts where you could see people getting scared by.
When you say I was sorry to interrupt, Muffy, but talking about scary films, I mean, one of us in this group doesn't really watch a lot of horror films.
Anyway, as I was hosting the show today,
one of us made a squeaking sound, I think.
Don't make fictional sound.
I thought there was a mouse sitting next to me.
Every scene where Pennywise was there and with a balloon, or in the tunnel, or in the sewers, anything dark and potentially scary, not for normal people but for certain people, I'd look over at Ahmed and he'd just look back at me like, what's this, man? This is not normal, man. So then we proceeded to laugh at him.
It was very interesting.
No. So I mean, for me overall, it was a bit boring. I've seen it all before. No, I mean, honestly speaking, I know for some people that said it wasn't scary. It worked for me. Sorry, I felt bad. Look, I'll be honest with you. What's his name? The clown.
Moneypenny.
Scared the shit out of me. The creepiness worked.
Yeah.
For me, it worked anyway. I actually felt
tingles.
Sitting there. There was a couple of scenes we'll get into later, but really
scary.
Worked. Yeah, really worked. So I mean,
I've got a question actually. Then going off of what you just said, obviously there were a lot of good scares in the film, a lot of good things. What was the one sequence for you that made you kind of your life kind of question its choices as to why you were watching this film? For me, I'll tell you straight up, and it might be the same with you guys, the sequence where they're going through the slides and all of a sudden you see Pennywise and his face turns and then he jumps out of the fucking screen and starts like fucking shit up and stuff. I was like, what the fuck? I found it funny how that one kid though, he just decided to the fucking projector out the way. It's like, I was like, dude, he jumps onto a projector screen.
The bit that really stood out in that scene of Stitches was, you had the kid standing next to the screen, so Pennywise disappears and he appears, he's looking at him. And I was like, I gave up. No, I mean, for me, I would say, to be fair, there's a few, but I would probably say
basically from first minute to the last minute.
Ahmed when Georgie hit his head on the sign. Standout sequence for you've talked about your standout sequence, have you?
No, I haven't.
No,
Listen, just get to the
his standout sequences.
His standout sequence was he running out the film at the end. He was like, I'm not coming back.
No, my standout sequence was when he went down the basement and his little brother was in the corner.
Oh,
His head pops out of the river.
Actually,
that was flipping.
I was thinking of which one actually got to me. Well, it didn't really get
I'll
to
tell
me.
you what was really surprising and shocking for me. Sorry to interrupt, Muffy, but like the anytime I do it anyway. So
I'm trying to think of them.
Georgie, right at the beginning when he got his arm bit off, I did not expect to see a 5-year-old getting his arm like eaten by a hand.
Yeah, that scene. Although that's not the scene that I'm thinking about. That got to me. The scene, because it was at the start, you just don't expect it.
Yeah.
And you don't expect Pennywise to be there immediately talking to him, and then all of a sudden, just that's just weird, man.
Yeah.
Like how his mouth opens up and then he eats basically half an arm.
Yeah.
And then that's
He's hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was weird, man.
I mean, coming into the sort of
but my scene would be
sorry.
I don't want people interrupting me. I'm not joking. I think my scene would be the basement one where he sees his brother and then Pennywise comes up from the water.
No, I mean, okay, Muffy, I'll ask you this question. Obviously, in terms of the story for you, was it a case of two stories come together, or the plot itself? How did you find it? Did you like the plot? You've mentioned it's more of a coming together, a group of kids.
Yeah.
Did you find it was a case of a group of kids who were overcoming a villain rather than a film about the villain, if you know what I mean? In horror, it's genuinely associated with there's a monster, he's going to kill all of you, end of discussion.
Yeah, it revolves around the villain and that's it.
Yeah.
No, I thought the two went hand in hand quite well. It was not just about Pennywise, because to be fair, you don't really see Pennywise as much as you would think. Even though it was Pennywise, it's Pennywise, isn't it? So you don't really see him as much as you think. So the main story really is around the group of kids and how they sort of come together in their fear of whatever, and they try and combat basically Pennywise. And I thought it played it was quite good how it all came together. I thought it was well structured.
I mean, Mr. Fahad, in terms of you've got obviously the story and it's a coming of age. The acting itself alongside it, is that part of the reason you enjoyed it so much?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the story now before I carry on talking about the acting and that stuff. I mean, the storyline itself, as those of you probably already know this as well, but it's based off a Stephen King book as discussed earlier on, and the book itself obviously has two parts to it. So the first half is sort of based around the children and their kind of encounter with it, and then the adult story is obviously based around the adults and their kind of reconciliation and kind of dealing with it then. Now, in terms of the acting and I mean, one of the things that this horror film stood out more than all other horror films was because their characters were there for a reason. They all had purpose. They all had their individual stories that were kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Usually, let's just say, like, I don't know, let's take Friday the 13th, for example. Let's use that as a bunch of horny teenagers going into a cabin. Oh, I'm this kid, I'm the nerdy kid, I'm this, I'm that. And this one has that to a degree, but like they get fleshed out. They get like funny kind of banter. They get good interactions with one another, and
their kids as well.
And their kids as well. You know what I mean? So they're kind of
different.
endearing in that sense. Whereas most horror films these days are just like the weakest characters more than anything else, and they just kind of get nothing. But this, really stood out. I really enjoyed this one.
Because you typically get in horror movies the butch one that probably gets killed up first, which means nothing because he's butch for no reason basically, and then you get the girl that's the hero maybe in the end. You get one girl that screams her head off and dies of her screaming.
Yeah, I mean,
but with this, it's more, it shows the kids' courage or the group of kids and their courage on trying to fight this thing.
Or stupidity.
I mean, in terms of acting,
for you, would you go down the sewer?
No way.
No.
Like what's his name said, in 27 years, I'm 40, I'm living life, I'm done.
Exactly. In terms of acting, though, I was actually surprised. A lot of the kids did, good for their age and stuff. But I think some of them were standouts. First of all, was it Bill Skarsgård who plays it? I think it is. It's one of the Skarsgårds. I can't remember which one exactly, but he did a really good job. I think of being funny when he needed to be. But
is that the kid of Stranger Things?
No. Bill Skarsgård, the guy who actually plays Pennywise. He did a pretty good job. I thought he was like funny when he needed to be. He was scary when he needed to be, and I love the visual effects that they did on his eyes. I
thought that was quite good.
That was interesting. In terms of the other kids, just generally the acting and stuff like that.
They're quite good.
They're all pretty good. I think the standout though for me was the guy from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
He had the best lines. Was the funny. It's the kid that I related to the most. You know what I mean? He was just kind of
Why? Because you think you're funny.
I know I'm funny. You look funny.
I mean, let me a criticism.
You remind me of another kid, but I won't say.
You might remember Bob. That's who you were, wasn't it? Barbara.
Okay, boys, behave.
Similar haircuts.
Behave. I mean, in terms of coming back to the plot and the acting and stuff, I think one of the things that slightly was disappointing is you've mentioned at the beginning it starts off with the little kid's hands getting bit off, arm getting bit off, and you think to yourself, yo, the stakes are really high, but as the movie went on...
Why didn't he kill the kids when he could?
Yeah, it doesn't have to kill all of them. I understand, especially if they want to do a sequel. But it felt more safe and safe as the film went on. I mean, do you think the plot itself justified that, or there was a reason to it? Or?
For me, it was a little bit hazy in the sense of what are Pennywise's powers, what can he do, what can he not do.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so the adults can't see him. Okay, that makes sense. That's like a solid rule. That kind of makes sense. But then he can kind of go onto TVs and kind of get people there. He plays off their fears. He gets power off their fears. But then why is he limited to kind of being a clown? Why is he? You know what I mean? It's just a little bit hazy. And again, it works with the film. It's like a nitpick, but it's just kind of like maybe there should have been an extra. This is very rare that I ask for like more I can't even say the word, but more detail in terms of the practicalities of who the character actually is. But I think it needed a little bit more around that exposition. That's what it needed, a little bit more exposition about Pennywise and who he was.
Do you think
it's very similar? Go ask a question and then
I was gonna say it's gonna lead into that basically. I was gonna just say, do you think it's a film based on the kids and he was just a villain to a plot device, or do you think this should have been? Do you think it should be more focus on him, or are you happy with the amount?
Well, throughout the movie, I was trying to figure out who he is and what he can do. There was a few scenes where I realised, okay, maybe he can do this. So the scene where he takes over the bully, and he starts laughing hysterically. That sort of suggests to me he's got some sort of hypnosis power, if that's a word. Hypnosis powers. Hypnotic powers. And then the other scene where the kids are trying to fight him in the house the first time, and someone stabs him through the head.
I think
it was at the girl, and then it gets me thinking, okay, maybe he can't die with knives or with objects. But then, and then at the end where he sort of disappears after they all basically beat on him and
they rushed him basically, didn't they?
Rush him, we get a kick from here, kick from there, and then he sort of disappears into the hole and disappears. It still gets me thinking about what he can do, because I still don't know what apart from his teeth that come out, and the other scene was how he gets the kids to float with the lights.
To give
in
the
his
film
mouth.
credit, it is chapter 1 of 2. So maybe in the second film they'll kind of go into a little bit more detail about kind of who he is and his powers and all that kind of stuff. But I agree with you guys again, like I said, to the point where it just needed an extra scene just to kind of show what he's actually capable of. You know what I mean? Because
an extra scene would have been, well, to be fair, the movie's 2 hours. Well,
just rearrange something. You know what I mean? They had the scene maybe already there with like the fat kid who's kind of into like.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is Stephen King. So it's based on his books, and he sort of knows what he's doing. So
true. I mean,
anyway.
Okay, so like we mentioned,
what about you? What about you?
I've mentioned it. I mean, for me, okay. I think
I wasn't listening.
I hope the viewers or the listeners are.
Fat chance, mate. Good luck with that.
Coming into visual effects and stuff like that, the tone of the film. I mean, you mentioned obviously it's not scary, but there were tense moments. It was quite intense and stuff. Visually speaking, do you think it worked? His moments where For example, he comes out the cupboard. That was one of my favorite moments. He's sort of squeezed into a cupboard and he comes out stretching out his body parts as he's coming to the
popping
kid.
and locking, yeah.
Yeah, he's used some breakdancing that scene. Do you think it worked? Did you find him intimidating, visually speaking, whenever he was on the screen?
I really did. I mean, going in terms of the production's value of it, I thought it was fantastic. You know, I liked how it was a small scale film, and then they used the money when they really needed to use the money, like in the finale when he was turning into like a spider and then he turned into this. I thought it was really, really interesting. In terms of the characterization himself, like I said, he was scary when he needed to be. He was creepy when he needed to be. Like everything he was doing, but you've got to bear in mind, one of the reasons why I liked him was he's effective to children. He isn't trying to scare adults because adults have like weird fucking problems, like, you know what I mean? But like kids, they're kind of simplistic in their fears, which is why the way he's trying to scare the kids is through kind of grandiose gestures and all that kind of stuff as well. So I really kind of like that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, are there any big dislikes or negative points that you have, or any, if you're going to nitpick?
I mean, like, unless it was just the general kind of stuff which we talked about a little bit earlier on, where, you know, maybe having a little bit more about things. I think in terms of nitpicks, the film does drag a little bit. Yeah. It does feel like, I think towards the middle of the film, once they go into the big house initially, after that it feels like the film goes through like a little bit of a lull. Some of the characters aren't as well developed, I think, personally, you know, in terms of... you know, there's the main girl character, there's the main kid, and then there's like a couple of his friends, and then some of the other kids don't have as much development as kind of they should. The parents are all kind of a bit awful.
Weird,
a bit weird in this film, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, those are kind of the first things that come to
for
mind.
me, I was going to think about it and nitpick. One thing I didn't like was the haunted house. Yeah. I think that's too status quo. It's too cliche of a horror movie. Yeah. There's a haunted house. There's right next to it. You've got this tree that's sort of bent in a weird way. It's just too. I mean, what I like about the movie is that Pennywise he roams around the sewers basically, and I think that's quite interesting because he lives in the dark and underground, etc. And I think they ruined it with not ruined it, but just avoiding the haunted house would have been so much better if they'd gone down essentially to the quarry and in through the sewer pipes or whatever and had a fight there or defeated it there or even gone to the chamber, you know the chamber where all the 14 kids were. I think that would have been a lot better. Yeah. Because I really
like the house. I thought that was one of the better sequences in the film.
For me, it works.
The sequences inside the film work. Yeah. The house itself, I think, could have been not there because I don't like cliches.
You're just not into interior design, man. That's what it is.
No, I mean...
Yeah, because there were carpets and sofas in that house.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, for me, I think the only thing I would say is I went to this film wanting to watch what's his name? I'm going to call him...
that's my other nitpick.
Pennywise.
It should be more about Pennywise.
That's what I would... Okay. No, it's not a criticism, but I went in to watch him, per se. The end scene when they started beating him up and, you know, with metal bats, a group of kids being able to take him out. It was just... For me, at that point... That's what I was going to say. At that point, for me, thinking... At the beginning, I didn't like it, but when I went to it, I thought about it. For you know what? It's not... I adjusted my view, and it's a story about a group of kids overcoming social issues and also a coming-of-age story. Yeah. And it is the plot device for him to get there. And you were going to say...
So let me counter your point a little bit earlier on about wanting it to be a little bit more about kind of Pennywise. I was going to say Moneypenny again. We need to stop saying that.
It's him. He's going to be
that shit. Okay, I get what your point is because you know you want to see a film about, you know, scary clown fucking shit up and stuff, but it's true. But like Jaws for example, you watch Jaws and Jaws, the actual shark is maybe in 5 scenes in the entire where you actually see him, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's the thought that actually of him that does more than anything else, and he hangs over the film, so even though he's not physically, he's probably physically on screen in maybe about 20 minutes in the entire film, but his presence is felt throughout the entire film, which is kind of why I don't really have a problem about him not being central focus, and I think that's maybe more of a problem with us expecting the film to be about a clown when realistically it's more about characters, and I give the film credit for that because, you know, if it was about characters that were boring as fuck, you know what I mean? I'd be like, okay, I'm really not into this. Get to Khan, get to Khan. But all the kids' stories are genuinely very, very interesting. So I was really, really kind of interested in that.
It's different to Jaws because Jaws has that thriller moment throughout.
Yeah.
So they have to try and avoid the shark, even though you don't see him essentially. But with it, you've got scenes where it's just tense and scary for Ahmed, and I'm gonna keep saying that. And he gets you off your chair for Ahmed. But then it works well because the intention is when it's not about Pennywise, it's about the kids being kids.
Yeah.
So when they're at the cliff and they're jumping into the water, etc., it's literally just a bunch of kids, and they're on holiday. I think they're on holiday.
Yeah, 6 weeks or their summer holidays. Yeah. I don't know how much they get there.
Oh yeah, probably. And they're jumping into the pool and stuff. It's just literally about kids. So it's made in that way where you don't need to see Pennywise all the time, or you don't need to be reminded of him being there all the time.
Okay.
But that's me.
So, scores time.
Yeah.
We'll start with
Ahmed, let's start with you. You haven't spoken in a while.
That's true, actually.
If you bear in mind though, if you give this film anything less than like a 5, Pennywise is going to come in. He's going to.
I was
It's already possessing the TV, man.
I'm already ready for a 10, but no, I think for what it was, the story it told. Am I going to watch it again? Hell no. I'll probably, honestly speaking, I think I'd give it a 7.
Yeah.
I think I've enjoyed it. It's not the best of the year, but Money Pennywise.
Oh my god!
Pennywise was really scary. It did his job, and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
For me, I'd give it a 7.5. A 7 for the movie, and a half for
0.5 for something else.
No. I'll tell you why. A 7 for the movie, and a 0.5 for seeing Ahmed's face being scared.
Oh my god, guys! Seriously.
See, the thing is, if the cinema was bright enough to take a picture, or if I didn't have to use flash, I would have taken a picture. But that for me just so.
Anyways, your
You have to cut him off every
Don't cut me
now.
off. So half Ahmed's face. There you go.
I'd give it an 8. It was a really, again, horror films have to do a lot to kind of impress me, I think, just because I'm not genuinely into them. It's like, you know, when people aren't into superhero films and they kind of see, like, let's say The Dark Knight, you really kind of think, for me, it's the same with horror films.
Yeah.
Not really into them, but it takes like a really good one to kind of be like, okay, yeah, that was good. And this was a very good horror film, simply for a couple of reasons, like I mentioned. You know, the characters are really, really strong.
Yeah.
It did lag a little bit, but the pace was quite good overall and throughout the entire film. Visual effects, spectacle, all the production value kind of stuff was really, really good. Really looking forward to part 2, really looking forward to kind of where this journey is actually going to go, continuing on to the second chapter. So for me, a solid 8, and I'd recommend people to definitely go ahead and check it out.
Okay, and that is it for us today. Thank you very much, guys, as always. You can find us, obviously, on YouTube already, hopefully, or on Soundcloud at Roadman Reviews. Alternatively, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at Roadman Reviews. You'll find us towards the top of the list by now.
You can also find Ahmed crying in the corner this evening after watching it.
You see, they don't know, but the tapes are recorded of them.
That's true.
Of them jumping around in stages of
Don't
fright.
tell him that, man. Come on, we gotta.
But anyway, guys, it was all a joke. I was really scared. And on that note, I will leave you to it, and we'll catch you soon.
You're gonna leave them to it, will you?
To it. And we're trying to sort this TV out that keeps telling
TV.
So for now, goodbye, and watch your backs.
See you guys soon.
See you guys.
Bye.